So learning target 2.7, sometimes there's more than one way to get these answers, which means as you're doing this, one of the things you're going to be asked to do when you're looking at these is to say the order in which you found these angle measures, because the order in which you found them might change the reason that you give. So when I look back at this problem, it asks me to find these different angle measures that are missing, and I did a larger version to make it easier to see. The thing that draws my attention first is honestly not angle A, because I don't have enough information to get that. They give me this 32 degree, well actually I do have enough information to get this. They give me this 32-degree angle down here, and now that I'm taking a moment to think about it, I realize that if I think of this as my transversal cutting through these two parallel lines, that A and the 32-degree angle are alternate interior angles, which means they are congruent. So A is 32 degrees. Don't forget your degree symbol. So I found A first, and the reason is alt, and easier to do maybe, int angles are congruent. And you might write the conjecture there, but conjecture is a pretty long word to write. So once I know A, I look and I say, okay, the next one that draws my attention is G. Not that it has to be the next one that draws my attention, but it is. Because when I'm looking at this, I realize that if this is perpendicular, that the 32-degree angle and the one measuring G are complementary, so their sum has to be 90 degrees. So for G, I'm going to take 90 minus 32 to say that that is a 58-degree angle, and I found it second. Doesn't say I have to give a reason for that one, so I'm not going to. So I'm going to start in a different color here, and I'm going to sort of erase as I go on some of these. I'm going to say that A is a 32-degree angle, and that G is a 58-degree angle, just so it's on my picture and I can figure out how that's going to help me. The next thing that draws my attention is C, because these two lines intersect, and C and G are formed by those two lines, and they are not adjacent angles. So they're actually a vertical pair. So that means that C has to also measure 58 degrees. So C is 58 degrees. I found that third, and vertical angles are congruent. And then one thing I forgot to do, I'm going to go back to the directions. It says alternate interior angles with blank. So it's asking me which degree or which angle I actually did that. So for A, 32 degrees, alternate interior angles with the other one that was originally marked 32 degrees. Then I went to G, and I knew it was complementary, but I actually don't have to describe that. C, it was vertical angles are congruent, and it was with the one with measure G. So that way I'm saying, hey, which one am I talking about while I'm doing this? So I know that C is also 58 degrees. And the next one that draws my attention is B up here, because if these two lines are parallel, and this is my transversal, then corresponding angles B and C are congruent with each other. So B is 58 degrees. I found that one fourth, corresponding and angles congruent, and I did that with the one that measured C. Same thing, sort of, when I'm looking at this. If these two are parallel, then C and D are corresponding angles, and they're also going to be congruent. So D also has to be 58 degrees. So D is 58 degrees. I found it fifth, and it didn't have to say why I found it. The next one that draws my attention is F, because D and F are a vertical pair. So F is 58 degrees. Now, I have two reasons that I can give for this. Actually, more than two reasons. I can say that I found F because it's a vertical pair with D, and vertical angles are congruent. It's alternate interior angles with C, since these two lines are parallel, this transversal, the alternate interior angles are congruent. Or again, these two lines are parallel, this is my transversal, its corresponding angles with G, I just have to say which one of those I used. Honestly, I usually, if it's one of my choices, I do vertical angles. It doesn't have to be, but this is 58 degrees. I don't actually have to say why, but just so you know, there were 3 at least that I saw perfectly reasonable and acceptable reasons why F is 58 degrees. Now, H is also 58 degrees. I have alternate interior angles for that or corresponding angles. With these 2 lines parallel, this is my transversal, so H and F are corresponding angles and they're congruent. H and D are alternate interior angles and they're congruent. Or these 2 lines are parallel and this is my transversal, so B and H are alternate interior angles and they're congruent. So I have, again, a whole bunch of reasons why H is 58 degrees. In this case, they do ask me to say why, so H is 58 degrees. I'm going to say alternate interior, it's hard to write neatly on this, angles are congruent, and I'm going to use the one with measure D for that. And last but not least is E. Now, for E, the way that I'm going to get that is to recognize that E and H form a linear pair. So, to show my work like I'm supposed to, I'm going to take 180 minus my 58 degrees, and that is, again, my 8th thing that I'm finding. So that's going to be 122 degrees for E, because linear angles are supplementary, and I did that, I think it was H, but let me go back and look, with the one with measure H. Now try to do a little bit. I wouldn't normally say lin, but I kind of ran out of room to write here. So give the best description you can. Again, the order in which you found them. If there's a calculation you're doing up here, show me the calculation, and then finish filling in your table. Thank you.